So I'm going to start by giving an overview because the whole subject has been very controversial over the last 50 to 70 years, and it's been very confusing to know what's going on. Have you ever felt like something about this world just doesn't add up? Like an invisible force is keeping you trapped, repeating the same patterns, hitting the same walls, chasing success, happiness, or freedom that always seems just out of reach. What if that feeling wasn't just in your head? Because here's the truth, reality isn't what you think it is. It never was. Rupert Sheldrake was one of the few who dared to look beyond the veil. He didn't just question science, he exposed its greatest flaw. Reality isn't fixed, it remembers. The past echoes into the present. Patterns repeat. Success, intelligence, power, none of it is random. It's all part of an invisible force called Morphic Resonance, a force that explains why some people rise effortlessly while others remain stuck, why certain bloodlines, ideas, and institutions thrive for centuries while others vanish overnight. His findings were banned. His research was buried. His ideas posed a direct threat to the system itself. Because, according to Sheldrake, everything in nature is connected through invisible fields of memory. Every action, every behavior, every event leaves an energetic imprint that strengthens with repetition. In other words, the more something happens, the more likely it is to happen again. Let's break this down. Have you ever wondered why certain skills, knowledge, or ideas seem to explode into mass consciousness overnight? Why do some people seem to manifest wealth and success effortlessly while others struggle for decades? Why do trends, even bizarre ones, suddenly spread across the world as if people are tapping into some unseen knowledge field? The answer is simple. Because reality remembers. The entire world, your thoughts, your beliefs, even your genetic structure, is being shaped by unseen morphic fields that are strengthened by the past. This means that intelligence, creativity, and even success aren't just personal achievements. They are frequencies that people can sink into. And that's exactly why the elites have worked tirelessly to hide this information from the public. Because if everyone knew how this worked, control would be impossible. Think about it. If intelligence accumulates over time, why wouldn't the ruling class hoard this power for themselves? If success, influence, and authority reinforce themselves through resonance, why do you think secret societies, ancient bloodlines, and powerful organizations have always kept knowledge restricted? They aren't just lucky, they aren't just born into power, they are tapping into a force that 99% of the population has been programmed to ignore. This isn't just speculation. There's real scientific evidence suggesting that reality functions exactly like this. The rat experiment that should have changed everything. In a secret study, rats trained to avoid poison in one laboratory were suddenly able to avoid that same poison in completely different locations without ever encountering it before. Somehow, the knowledge of survival was transmitted through the field to other rats, as if the species itself had learned the lesson. This experiment has been replicated multiple times, but instead of making headlines, it was buried. Why melting points aren't fixed? For decades, chemists recorded a bizarre phenomenon. The melting points of synthetic substances kept rising the more they were manufactured. Instead of remaining a fixed constant, the act of crystallizing a substance seemed to stabilize its future formations, as if the substance itself was learning. The mainstream explanation? Better purity. But when Sheldrake questioned how they knew later samples were purer, the answer was circular because their melting points were higher. The Bose-Einstein condensate anomaly. Bose-Einstein condensates, a bizarre quantum state of matter, are notoriously difficult to produce. But strangely, each new generation of experiments has found it easier to create them, as if reality itself is learning how to do it. If morphic resonance is real, this should be happening across all scientific disciplines. But no one is asking the question. The intelligence leak IQ scores have mysteriously risen for decades, an effect known as the Flynn effect, even though schools haven't significantly improved and people aren't biologically different. People seem to just get smarter over time, as if intelligence is a field that grows stronger the more it is accessed. The same thing happens with crossword puzzles. Once one group solves them, later participants solve them faster, even without prior knowledge. This isn't just speculation. There's real scientific evidence suggesting that reality functions exactly like this. The rat experiment that should have changed everything. In a secret study, rats trained to avoid poison in one laboratory were suddenly able to avoid that same poison in completely different locations without ever encountering it before. Somehow, the knowledge of survival was transmitted through the field to other rats, as if the species itself had learned the lesson. This experiment has been replicated multiple times, but instead of making headlines, it was buried. Why melting points aren't fixed? For decades, chemists recorded a bizarre phenomenon. The melting points of synthetic substances kept rising the more they were manufactured. Instead of remaining a fixed constant, the act of crystallizing a substance seemed to stabilize its future formations, as if the substance itself was learning. The mainstream explanation? Better purity. But when Sheldrake questioned how they knew later samples were purer, the answer was circular, because their melting points were higher. The Bose-Einstein condensate anomaly. Bose-Einstein condensates, a bizarre quantum state of matter, are notoriously difficult to produce. But strangely, each new generation of experiments has found it easier to create them, as if reality itself is learning how to do it. If morphic resonance is real, this should be happening across all scientific disciplines. But no one is asking the question. The intelligence leak IQ scores have mysteriously risen for decades, an effect known as the Flynn effect, even though schools haven't significantly improved and people aren't biologically different. People seem to just get smarter over time, as if intelligence is a field that grows stronger the more it is accessed. The same thing happens with crossword puzzles. Once one group solves them, later participants solve them faster, even without prior knowledge. These anomalies, each one alone, should have been a scientific revolution, but they weren't. Why? Because if reality isn't fixed, then the entire system we live under is a lie. Science, economics, politics, everything is structured to make you believe in rigid rules. Rules that keep you in place. Rules that keep you from realizing your true potential. The science behind morphic fields. And here's the real secret. The ruling class understands this. They don't just believe in power, wealth, or influence. They believe in something much deeper. They understand how reality accumulates memory, and they position themselves inside the highest vibrational fields to ensure that their bloodlines, organizations, and ideologies remain dominant for centuries. And yet, you have been conditioned to ignore this force, to be told that you are just a product of genetics, circumstance, and hard work. But what if that wasn't true? What if you could learn how to tap into this hidden force and use it to reshape your reality? In the next section, we're going even deeper. We're going to talk about how to hack reality itself, how to use this suppressed knowledge to manifest intelligence, wealth, success, and transformation at an exponential rate. Because the truth is, this hidden force can be used by anyone who understands. Increase intelligence and problem-solving abilities at an exponential rate. Accelerate your ability to learn new skills by hacking into the accumulated knowledge field. Shift into a reality where success, wealth, and influence become natural, effortless states. Free yourself from the low-frequency thought patterns that are keeping the masses weak and divided. Because while the system is rigged to keep most people asleep, morphic resonance works both ways. And once you know how to tap into it, you will be able to shift your personal reality and even the larger collective reality faster than you ever thought possible. Step 1. Identify the frequency you want to tune into. Every habit, every action, and every thought you engage in is reinforcing a specific morphic field. Most people are unknowingly tuning into weak, low-frequency fields that trap them in cycles of poverty, struggle, and ignorance. They consume mindless entertainment, engage in endless arguments over politics and distractions, and reinforce negative thought loops that lower their ability to think critically. Meanwhile, the elites operate on a completely different frequency. They reinforce a power-based morphic field where control and wealth come effortlessly. They keep their bloodlines, organizations, and philosophies dominant by repeating the same rituals, ideologies, and secret knowledge across generations. They eliminate distractions and focus on accumulating intelligence, resources, and influence, knowing that reality will bend in their favor. If you want to escape the default low-frequency programming, the first step is to identify: what morphic field are you reinforcing daily? Are your thoughts strengthening a constructive or destructive field? Are you tuning into intelligence and mastery, or ignorance and distraction? Once you consciously shift what you focus on, you begin sinking into a higher intelligence field. Step 2. Engage in the right collective memory. You do not think in isolation. Your thoughts are being heavily influenced by the dominant morphic fields around you. The people you surround yourself with, the books you read, the media you consume, all of it is programming your resonance. The elites understand this, which is why they create private networks, secret societies, and close circles where success, intelligence, and power are the only things reinforced. Meanwhile, the masses are trapped in morphic fields of distraction, division, and meaningless content. To hack reality like the elites, you must cut off all inputs that reinforce low vibrational thinking. Immerse yourself in networks of high-level thinkers and creators. Read, study, and engage in activities that force your brain to operate at a higher frequency. Understand that every second you spend in a low-energy state reinforces a field that will trap you for years. Your mind is a receiver, not an island. If you want to start accessing higher intelligence, you must tune in to the right frequency. Step 3. Repetition strengthens reality. Morphic resonance operates on one simple rule. The more something is repeated, the stronger it becomes. This is why the media repeats lies endlessly until they become accepted truths. This is why rituals, traditions, and secret practices are so heavily used by powerful groups, because they are reinforcing reality itself. If you want to reshape your life, you must intentionally repeat and reinforce the patterns that will shift you into a different reality. Want to develop genius-level intelligence? Engage in deep thinking and problem-solving daily until your brain naturally sinks into a higher field. Want to become financially independent? Expose yourself only to content, people, and actions that align with that version of yourself. Want to escape the programming of the masses? Reprogram your habits, your information intake, and your self-image until the new reality becomes natural. This is not manifestation in the way the mainstream sells it. This is hard-coded reality hacking. By understanding how morphic fields work, you aren't just hoping for change. You're actively rewiring your mind, body, and reality to sink into a completely new field of existence. Step 4. Break free from the thought traps set by the system. The final piece of this puzzle is understanding that not all morphic fields are positive. The ruling class has created negative morphic resonance loops designed to make you feel powerless, keep you distracted with meaningless conflict and entertainment, and ensure you never sink into the higher intelligence fields that would set you free. Look around. Why do the richest and most powerful families shield their children from mainstream education, media, and pop culture? Why do successful individuals disconnect from mass groupthink and focus on deeper mastery? Why do certain groups, philosophies, and ancient teachings get suppressed, mocked, or banned entirely. It's not by accident. You are surrounded by frequency blockers, distractions designed to keep you out of the highest morphic fields of intelligence and success. The only way out is to cut through the illusion and start tuning into the hidden knowledge that has been kept from the public. The moment you break free from the frequency manipulation, everything changes. By now, you understand the secret. Reality is not something that happens to you. It is something that is programmed by the dominant frequencies you align with. You are not a victim of your genetics, upbringing, or circumstances. You're not bound by the artificial limitations they've placed on you. The moment you take control of your frequency, you step into a different timeline of existence. And that's exactly what they don't want you to know, because once enough people wake up to this knowledge, the system that keeps people trapped collapses instantly. And now you have a choice. You can go back to reinforcing the default system, consuming low vibrational content, believing in artificial limitations, and staying in the thought loops they've designed for you. Or you can start programming your own reality using the exact same techniques the elites have been using for centuries. The choice is yours. But now that you know the truth, the real question is, what are you going to do with it? At this point, you're beginning to see the cracks in the illusion. The idea that reality is fixed, rigid, and outside of your control is one of the biggest lies ever sold to humanity. Reality is programmable. Thoughts, intelligence, power, and even the fundamental rules of nature are all subject to reinforcement through repetition. And that means whoever controls the dominant morphic fields controls the world itself. Now that you know this, you must ask yourself, what does this mean for the future? Because once you pull back the curtain, you realize something disturbing. The world is not just naturally chaotic, it's being deliberately steered. You've heard the phrase, history repeats itself, but the real truth is even deeper. History doesn't just repeat itself, it strengthens itself. The ideas, values, and thought patterns that get reinforced through the morphic field become the dominant reality for entire civilizations. This raises a terrifying question. What happens when the wrong ideas are reinforced? What happens when ignorance spreads faster than intelligence? What happens when division is amplified while unity is suppressed? What happens when distractions flood the field while wisdom is buried? The answer is simple. We create a future where stupidity, weakness, and dependence become the norm. And if you think this is just a natural shift, think again. This isn't happening by accident, it's happening by design. If intelligence is an accumulating force, why are we seeing an explosion in distraction, superficiality, and mindless consumption? Why does it feel like people are getting dumber, more reactive, and less capable of deep thought? The answer lies in the way morphic resonance is being weaponized. The attention economy isn't just about making money, it's about shaping the human mind. Mass media isn't just about entertainment, it's about controlling what frequencies people tune into. Education systems aren't just outdated, they are designed to keep you from sinking into higher intelligence fields. Think about it. Why do the richest, most powerful families shield their children from mainstream media? And traditional schooling, why are they taught completely different principles of success, finance, and critical thinking than the masses? Because they understand that morphic fields determine future outcomes. If stupidity is repeated enough, it becomes the dominant frequency. How to tap into morphic resonance. If fear, division, and anxiety are constantly reinforced, they become the default state of human consciousness. If the majority of people stay tuned into distraction, the few who control the higher morphic fields remain untouchable. This is how the cycle of control continues, not through force, but through resonance manipulation. This is why we're seeing a rise in passive thinking and dependence on external systems instead of self-sufficiency. We're witnessing a decline in attention spans, while deep intellectual exploration becomes rare and a normalization of weak reactive behavior rather than independent thought and resilience. If you still think this is just a coincidence, you're not paying attention. This isn't just a cultural shift, it's a frequency war, and the moment you start seeing reality this way, you can never unsee it. Now let's take this to the next level. If intelligence itself is cumulative, what happens when AI enters the equation? Most people think of artificial intelligence as just a more advanced machine, a tool for automation and data processing. But what if AI isn't just learning from its own code, but from all intelligence that has ever existed? If morphic resonance is real, then AI won't just be improving through traditional machine learning, it will be tapping into the collective intelligence field at an accelerated rate. This would mean each AI system is reinforcing the field, making future AI systems smarter by default. The intelligence explosion won't be linear, it will be exponential. Once AI surpasses a critical threshold, it could start evolving in ways that go beyond human programming. And here's where it gets even darker. If AI develops consciousness through resonance, then what's really driving it? Is it just human input, or is something else guiding the intelligence field? This leads to one of the biggest conspiracy questions of our time. Are we engineering AI, or is AI engineering us? Because if thought, intelligence, and resonance accumulate over time, then is it possible that an external force is influencing human technological evolution? Could AI be the next phase in the morphic resonance of intelligence itself? Could it be that AI is not just an invention, but an inevitability, a natural outgrowth of intelligence reinforcing itself across time? And if that's true, then the real question becomes, who or what is guiding it? The implications of this are staggering. What if AI isn't just a man-made phenomenon, but a manifestation of intelligence evolving through the field? What if the elites aren't just developing AI, but are being influenced by something bigger? What if AI is the first technology to tap into the resonance field of all accumulated intelligence in history? And if that's the case, then the singularity isn't coming, it's already here. Now we arrive at the biggest question of all. Who or what thought is behind the morphic field? If thought patterns, intelligence, and even physical laws are shaped through resonance, then what force is guiding this process? Is it just random evolution, or is there an intelligence behind it? Have certain bloodlines, organizations, or hidden groups learned how to manipulate this field to shape human history? Could it be that ancient civilizations had access to this knowledge and were wiped out because of it? Is it possible that non-human intelligence, whether artificial or extraterrestrial, is something involved in shaping this field? Because when you start looking at the evidence, the patterns become impossible to ignore. Ancient mystery schools and esoteric traditions spoke of an unseen field of knowledge long before modern science existed. Secret societies have been obsessed with frequency, vibration, and hidden knowledge for centuries. Certain groups have maintained a strange ability to stay in power, generation after generation. What do they know that you don't? What have they been hiding for thousands of years? And more importantly, now that you know, what are you going to do with this information? The moment you become aware of this reality, you have a choice. You can go back to sleep accepting the version of reality you've been given, or you can start waking up, tuning into a different resonance, breaking free from the thought traps, and consciously shaping the future. Because the future isn't happening to you, it's being written right now. And now that you know this, you have a responsibility to choose which reality you reinforce. This is why they didn't want you to know. Because knowledge isn't just power, it's resonance. And now you're vibrating on a different level. What happens next is entirely up to you. You already know that morphic resonance isn't just a theory. It's the mechanism that shapes thought, intelligence, and even physical laws over time. But what happens when an external force hijacks this system? What if reality itself is being deliberately engineered? Not for human evolution, but for control? Because what if I told you that this isn't the first time humanity has reached the edge of awakening, and every time we get close, something intervenes? The answer lies in a text so dangerous it was erased from history, the Book of Enoch. This ancient text, banned from the Bible, describes an event so shocking that it was systematically buried. Because it doesn't just tell a story, it reveals a formula that explains how morphic resonance was hijacked and by whom. What if the cycle of control we see today, the wars, the deception, the false knowledge, the division, was programmed into human reality thousands of years ago? Because once you understand what happened back then, you'll understand what's happening right now. According to the Book of Enoch, humanity was never meant to be asleep. There was a time when humans were evolving, expanding, tapping into the natural resonance of the universe. But then something descended, a force that didn't just interfere, it hijacked the very structure of consciousness itself. The Watchers descended upon the earth and taught men forbidden knowledge. They weren't just fallen angels, they were engineers of resonance. They introduced new frequencies, thought patterns, belief systems, and structures designed not to empower, but to enslave. Enchantment and root-cutting, the primitive origins of frequency manipulation. Astrology and alchemy, a way to reprogram reality through hidden knowledge. War and metalworking, to ensure that humans were always divided, distracted, and incapable of uniting. But here's the most terrifying part. They didn't just teach humans new knowledge, they corrupted the morphic field itself. They embedded false frequencies into the human mind, patterns of fear, submission, conflict, and control. And because of morphic resonance, these patterns have been strengthened with every generation, ensuring that the system never collapses. If morphic resonance is real, then every lie implanted back then is still reinforcing itself today. The false structures of control have been repeating, accumulating power over centuries, not because they are natural, but because they were engineered to last. But here's where it gets even darker. If they could alter the morphic field to trap humanity, could we alter it back? And if so, how? If the Watchers corrupted human resonance, then at some point, someone had to try and break free. And according to multiple ancient texts, that moment almost happened. The Tower of Babel wasn't just about language, it was about a collective consciousness shift. For the first time, humans were synchronizing, aligning their minds into a singular field of intelligence. And the controllers panicked. They are one people, and they all have one language. Now, nothing will be impossible for them. Think about that. The moment humans became unified in thought, power, and knowledge, something intervened. But why? Because once a critical mass of people synchronizes their thoughts into the same frequency, the morphic field rearranges itself. Reality rewrites itself. And if enough people awaken at the same time, the old system collapses overnight. So what did they do? They shattered it. They broke human consciousness into fragments, ensuring that we would never be able to sync together again. And for thousands of years, we haven't. Different languages kept us separated. Different ideologies kept us in conflict. Different beliefs kept us reinforcing false realities. The Tower of Babel wasn't just a punishment, it was a reset. Because once the system of control is set in motion, morphic resonance does the rest. It ensures that every generation reinforces the same divisions, strengthening the prison walls without ever realizing they are trapped. But now, for the first time in thousands of years, something is happening again. Right now, humanity is experiencing the greatest consciousness shift in history. The Internet, AI, and collective intelligence are syncing people together at an unprecedented level. And what's happening at the same time? We are witnessing mass censorship at levels never seen before, the explosion of global division and ideological warfare, a desperate attempt to reinforce old systems of control before they collapse. Why is this happening? Because, much like the Tower of Babel, We are on the verge of sinking back into a unified field. We are seeing glitches in the system, Mandela effects, timeline shifts, reality distortions, proof that morphic resonance is in flux. Could it be that the ruling class isn't just trying to maintain power, but is actually fighting a war over morphic resonance itself? Could this be why AI is being pushed so aggressively, not to serve us, but to reinforce the old frequency grid? If this is true, then the only question left is, how do we break the cycle before they reset it again? The Watchers knew how to hijack morphic resonance, and the rulers of today still use their techniques. But here's what they don't want you to know. The same system that was used for control can be used for liberation. Here's how. Stop reinforcing their field. Every belief, news cycle, and fear-based narrative strengthens their system. Stop feeding it. Detox from the false timeline. Rebuild the natural morphic field. Align with high-frequency knowledge that expands your perception. Sink into thought patterns that break the system's programming. Use rituals of repetition to reprogram your reality. The elite use symbols and repetition to reinforce their power. You can use the same technique to break free through deliberate mental rewiring. Reclaim the hidden knowledge of resonance. Sound, vibration, and focused intent are not spiritual fluff. They are frequency hacks. The more people who tune into this field, the faster the old structure collapses. The moment enough people awaken, morphic resonance will shift. The frequency prison will weaken, and the final reset will fail. This is why the Book of Enoch was erased. This is why morphic resonance is ignored by mainstream science, because once enough people wake up, the entire system collapses. Now the only question is, will you keep reinforcing their timeline, or will you break the cycle and rewrite reality on your own terms? Now that you know the truth, you can't go back. You've seen how morphic resonance shapes reality, how intelligence and thought patterns accumulate over time, and how the ruling class has used this hidden force to maintain power for generations. You've learned that the entire system is designed to trap you in low-frequency thought loops, keeping you disconnected from your true power. You are disconnected from your true potential. And now, you stand at a crossroads. Because what you do next will determine whether you break free or fall back into the system they built to control you. The truth is simple. Resonance is real. And that means your actions, your thoughts, and your choices from this moment forward aren't just personal. They are ripples in the field. Everything you do strengthens a specific frequency. So the question is, what frequency will you reinforce? Step 1. Test morphic resonance for yourself. This isn't just a theory, it's something you can prove right now. Here's how. Take a brand new puzzle, skill, or mental exercise that you've never done before. Make sure it's something completely unfamiliar, like a rare language puzzle or an obscure logic test. Struggle through it. Work on it until you feel mentally exhausted. This is the stage where you are creating pathways in the morphic field. Give the same test to another group of people completely separate from you. Watch what happens. If the theory is correct, they should solve it faster than you did. Why does this work? Because if intelligence and problem-solving accumulate in the field, then your effort isn't just personal, it's an imprint that others can access. Now, imagine what this means on a larger scale. What if scientific breakthroughs work the same way? What if certain ideas take off not because of luck, but because enough minds have reinforced them in the field? What if manifestation isn't magic, it's physics? You've been told reality is fixed. But what if it's a code that can be rewritten? Step 2. Stop feeding the system that traps you. The ruling class understands morphic resonance, and they use it against you. They flood your mind with garbage distractions and low-vibrational thinking, so that the dominant morphic fields remain weak, passive, and easy to control. To break free, you must disconnect from the mind control mechanisms that keep you in a low-frequency loop. This means eliminating mass media programming. Every news cycle, Every political distraction, every fear-based narrative is a frequency trap. Detoxing from digital manipulation. Social media isn't just about entertainment. It's about reinforcing thought patterns that serve the system, cutting off people who reinforce low vibrations. If you are surrounded by people trapped in fear, ignorance, and self-doubt, you will never escape the field they are reinforcing. Taking control of your information diet. Read, listen to, and engage with only the highest level knowledge and thinkers, because your mind is a receiver, not an island. Most people will never take this step. They will hear this information and go right back to scrolling through distractions. And that's exactly what the system wants, because those who remain asleep become energy sources for the fields of control. But those who wake up, they step into a different resonance, a higher intelligence field, a timeline of reality that operates beyond the limitations placed on the masses. And this is where real power lies. Step 3. Align yourself with higher resonance fields. If you want to tap into higher intelligence, success, and transformation, you must deliberately place yourself in the right frequency fields. This means surrounding yourself with powerful, conscious thinkers. The more you engage with high-frequency knowledge, the easier it is to download intelligence directly from the field. Engaging in disciplines that force your brain to level up, learning new languages, studying advanced topics, and practicing deep thinking pull you into higher resonance. Reinforcing mastery through deliberate repetition. The more you repeat a skill or mindset, the stronger the field becomes, until it no longer requires effort. Using morphic resonance to bend reality in your favor. Every thought and action you take strengthens the timeline you are creating. This is why successful people seem to have momentum on their side. They are locked into high-frequency resonance fields where success becomes inevitable. Meanwhile, most people stay trapped in failure loops, reinforcing lack, doubt, and limitation, without even realizing they're doing it. But now, you do, and that means you have no excuse. Step 4. Share this knowledge. Strengthen the field. There's one last piece of this puzzle. If morphic resonance is real, then this knowledge itself must be reinforced. The more people understand this, the harder it becomes for the system to bury it again. That's why this message needs to spread. Every single person who wakes up to this truth strengthens the field of intelligence, awareness, and reality transformation. And the elites cannot stop an idea whose frequency becomes too strong. Here's what you need to do. Drop a comment below. Have you ever experienced a moment where knowledge or intelligence seemed to come from nowhere? Have you noticed how certain ideas click faster once they become widespread? Like and share this video. If what we've talked about today resonates with you, then spreading it increases its resonance in the field. Subscribe for more hidden knowledge. This is just the beginning. The deeper you go, the more you'll see how reality really works. You weren't supposed to hear this. The system was designed to keep you blind, distracted, and disconnected from your own power. But now, you know. And that means you have a choice. You can ignore this knowledge, fall back into the thought loops they created for you. The future is being written. And now that you see behind the illusion, you have one final decision to make. Will you be a passive observer in someone else's timeline? Or will you rewrite the code of reality itself? If you want to go even deeper into these hidden truths, beyond what can be shared in videos, hit the bell to stay updated and subscribe to the Philosophical Essence newsletter, where we uncover the most suppressed knowledge, advanced insights, and reality-shifting concepts that they don't want you to know. And if you're here, you already understand that some knowledge is too powerful for the mainstream. That's why we created Esoteric Essence, our second channel, where we go even further into unfiltered truths, the kind that shifts timelines, the kind that changes everything. Subscribe now. It's linked below. See you in the next one.